This is Caps PA announcer Wes Johnson, and you're listening to What the Pod!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of What the Puck. It is a Washington Capitals podcast, and that means it's a podcast about your 2018 Stanley Cup champions. Thank you all for listening to us on all of your favorite podcast platforms, especially Overcast. And if you are watching us right now on YouTube or Twitch, how's it going? Get to see our beautiful mugs right there on your phone or your YouTube stream or whatever's going on. You can watch us live right now as we record this. It's the beginning of spooky season. It's October 1. How's it going, everybody? Hope you're enjoying your October so far. And we are just 7 days? We're close. We're very, very close to the start of NHL hockey. And hopefully it's really scary for the rest of the NHL to know that Alex Ovechkin will once again be on the ice. But joining me, as always, to talk all about it, my buddy, Coach Dan. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I am doing well. Yourself?
I'm doing good. Doing good, absolutely. We are so close to being back on the ice. And it's not just us. It's Alex Ovechkin. Looks like he finally was able to take off that baby blue sweater, and he was a full participant in practice, and he will be up against the Boston Bruins, it looks like, on Thursday.
Yeah, he's got a couple of practices under his belt as a full participant. We never found out really what the issue was.
Just lower body, that's all we know.
All of his lower body was broken, just all of it. It fell off. No, he finally got back to practice, as did Martin Fehervary. Looks like they will be skating on Thursday at Capital One Arena against New Jersey, as well as a bunch of other players. And I think this is going to be potentially their most important, if not second most important game of the preseason, most important for a number of other players. I think we should temper our expectations for Ovechkin, given it's his first game. We saw Dubois in his first game, I believe it was his first game of the preseason against Columbus. Dude was taking penalty after penalty. Like, he just clearly, like, he took a penalty and then he must have left something in the penalty box. He was like, well, they're not just going to let me in there to get it. I have to, like, have a reason. So he went back in. So, I think we need to temper our expectations a little bit in terms of what we're going to see in this game against New Jersey from Ovechkin, but there's a bunch of other guys. And let's see, let's count it out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would say 6 guys trying to make 3 spots, if not 2 spots, on this roster right now.
Now, I do want to get into that, but just real quick, the fact that Marty Fehervary will be back on the ice, that's a huge deal. Absolutely fantastic that he will be back. He was taken out. He missed the playoffs last year, and I think during that series, especially against Carolina, we saw how important Marty is to this defense. Yeah. Missed him so much, so to have him back on the ice. I know we all love Ovi, and we know what Ovi can do. I got a box of Ovi cereal just this afternoon after work.
Dude, I have one too.
Did you get one?
I have the other OVOs from years ago.
Yeah.
And then I have the other one. I don't know, when did I get, like a week ago or so?
Ovi Crunch, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah,
Ovi
I think
Crunch.
it's just like, bran flakes. Like, it's nothing into it. You you're like, no, it's not very exciting cereal. But the box is fun.
Box is really fun. But yeah, I know we all love Ovi and we love seeing him on the ice, but having Marty back, that's huge, especially as we approach the regular season.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this is a guy who clearly was missing, like you said, in that series against Carolina. It threw a number of lineups and formations, from just the regular 5-on-5 with 2 defenders to the power play to the penalty kill, just to a number of different situations where this team relies on Fehervary, and he wasn't available. And it's not, anyone's fault. It is what it is, but you could see how important he was to this team in that series. And so to get him back, and I think it's going to take him a little while to get up to speed. How many more preseason games do they have? What do they have? 3 left?
Two left.
Is it only 2 at this point?
It's 2. I think it's Thursday and Saturday.
And they have, I think Boston. Oh, it's Boston tomorrow, not New Jersey. Why do I keep saying New Jersey?
It's Boston, so it's a little preview of the season opener.
Yeah, I don't know why I kept saying New Jersey.
It's all right.
You know,
We all make
anyways,
mistakes.
yes, Boston. That makes no sense to me. Anyways, the Boston and then Columbus. You're right. There's only two. I could have sworn they had one more game left. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like he's going to play in both. I think Ovechkin plays in both. I think obviously on that Columbus game, we're going to see pretty much the main roster, the starting lineup, if you will, for the first game of the season. I think if they are still wavering a little bit in terms of who they're going to send down or put on waivers, then maybe we see another opportunity for those guys. But I really think this game against Boston is their last opportunity to show that is the guys kind of on the outside, not on the outside looking in, but fighting for those spots to show what they can do. But in terms of Favari, like I fully expect him to play in both these games so that he can get up to speed to the, when it counts against Boston on the 8th.
Yeah, I think, I mean, not to take anything away from Marty whatsoever, but when he went down before the playoffs last year and we were saying like his season was over, I was like, okay, it sucks. He is a huge part of this defense, but at the same time, we'll be okay. It'll be fine. And we saw how quick Carolina was and how the Caps were having a hard time keeping up. And I was like, oh, Marty is not just a part of this defense. He is the guy on defense, and without him there, you just felt that loss that the Caps just were not going to be able to get past Carolina without him. So I'm happy he's back. I'm happy he's going to be able to work out the rust and get ready for the regular season. But yeah, like he's the present and the future of this defense.
I mean, I think it's a perfect segue into what I wanted to say. I feel like we know the contract situation with Karlsson. He's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the season. The team allegedly, as far as we know as fans, the team hasn't talked to him about a new deal. And so let's say at the, come, end of June, early July, that Karlsson is a free agent. Thank you very much for everything. We're an amazing player, huge part of this organization. We wish you the best of luck finishing your career somewhere else. And my expectation, especially considering their contract status, is that the top four is some combination of Chychrun and Matt Roy and Sandin and Favari. Like, those are your top four guys. Van Riemsdyk is an unrestricted free agent after this season. Maybe that's when Iorio, if he makes the roster, he steps up next, and takes a top six role and makes it his. Or the new guy, Declan Chisholm. So they've got some options, but Favari is arguably this team's best defensive defenseman. And like we've been saying, he showed his worth going into or in that Carolina series when he couldn't play and how much it affected this team. If anything, it kind of made me go, we need another one of him. And not like him. Like, I'm not asking to clone him, though that would be super.
That'd be convenient.
I don't know if they have the cap space, but we need another guy that can kind of be like him, 2.0 or 0.75. I want someone who's playing similar to that. We got Karlsson get up into the rush. Chychrun gets up into the rush. Sandin, I guess the other guys kind of do similar things. Sandin, they're trying to get him to play a little bit more offensively as well. That was kind of part of his game, I think, when he was a little bit younger. Now he's been focusing on his defense. He is a defender after all. Matt Roy kind of jumps up. He's a defensive guy, but I think Favari almost becomes their best defender given the just showing it how important and how effective he is as a defenseman on this team. And just, you got to kind of hope that he can stay healthy, especially considering he's on this roster for after this season for 4 more years at a cap hit of $6 million.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully he can stay healthy and be a part of this. But like you said, Marty has shown kind of like what he can do and that how much he is worth. There's a lot of players right now in this preseason that are doing their best to show what they are worth to this team. And it's a good problem to have. We've always said good problem to have, but the Capitals are dealing with a lot of talent and only so many roster spots that can be taken up. And, the fear is losing them to another team because a lot of these players have to go through waivers. But the big talk of this entire preseason and this entire training camp has been Sonny Milano and Henrik Lapierre. And they're both definitely playing and they're impressing in this preseason, and I think this is kind of like what they wanted to see from LaPierre last year. But maybe that last trip to Hershey kind of like put the fear of staying in the NHL in him, and he's kind of working his way through it. But those two guys, Milano and LaPierre, are definitely showing what they can do, but they're not the only two.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look up their player statistics. I thought it would be on the website, but they don't have the preseason statistics, or at least I can't find it. Statistics. I don't know why I couldn't spell that word for a minute. There we go. I mean, you're looking at how they've been doing. Milano and LaPierre are both leading the team in points with 6. So Milano's got 4 goals and 2 assists in 2 games. LaPierre, I don't know when this was last updated. That can't be right because it says they're 2-0. Why is it on the Devils website? That doesn't make any sense. Let's go to CBS Sports. That might be more accurate. Okay, so let's say in theory that CBS Sports is accurate. I think I was looking at stats from the game against the Devils. Anyways, Milano, I think, is leading or tied with some dude in Seattle. Tied with Yanni Neiman in Seattle for 4 goals. But, I mean, they both have been doing incredibly well. LaPierre's got 5 assists. Milano's got 4 goals. But there's a couple other guys that are on the roster that are still on the roster that are playing this preseason that you look at and you go, that's interesting. There's a couple different situations that this team has to look at right now. So one is Milano, who's been playing incredibly well. He's an NHL player, but he's 29, 30, something around there. Whereas Andrew Crystal, not Crystal,
not Crystal,
a little fancier, a little more fun.
Yeah, Milano not as fun to say, Crystal, just not as fun to say.
Yeah. It's just your name's kind of boring, buddy. No, the Milano, I can't find his birthday, but he's 29, so he's not, not a young guy in the sports world. In the real world, he's still a young guy, but in sports, he's kind of in the prime of his career age wise, whereas Crystal is where is he? He's got 18, 20. So he's significantly younger, and he's having a really good preseason as well. So if you're the Capitals, you can easily just, he's exempt from waivers, so you can just send him down to Hershey and let him play there for a bit and continue to develop. Or do you say, yeah, we're going to roll our dice with him now and get some production out of him at the NHL level? Or do you hang on to Milano and let him see what he can do? He took a little bit of a knock towards the end of the game against Columbus, but it sounds like he's okay. But there's always that little bit of that injury kind of thing in the back of your mind of like, are we going to have another situation like that? There's Ivan Miroshnichenko, who I think is going to be, we kind of texted about this. I think he's going to end up getting sent down to Hershey simply because he can pass through or doesn't have to go through waivers. Right. So I think at that point, it's almost like, we really like what you can do, but it just makes a lot of sense for us as an organization that we need to send you down. Like, if it's one thing if Milano wasn't tearing it up in the preseason, they're like, well, we can try and let him go for free or send him down to Hershey or something. But then there's also the situation of LaPierre, who's doing incredibly well and is just fighting for everything and doing exactly what this team wants him to do. But he's a center. And if you look at this roster on paper, you have Strome, you have Dubois, you have McMichael, and you have Dowd. And McMichael really, really wants to play center. Not that that means he has to. But the question is, if you keep LaPierre, what do you do with Connor McMichael? Do you put LaPierre on the wing? Or do you put McMichael back on the wing, that even though he loves playing center, and even though that Carberry seems to like him at center, he was very effective on that left wing. When it was him and Dubois and Wilson, that was a very effective line last year.
That was a money line.
And I know they like the idea of Beauvillier on the first line with Strome and Ovechkin. But I look at this and I go, do I want to put Ovechkin, Strome, and Protas together? That would be the elder Protas, not baby Pro.
Yeah.
Although he's looked quite good as well. He's not ready yet, but he's looked,
Has he been cut yet, or is he still there?
No, I think he's still there.
Okay.
I think he's still there. He's not ready yet. He's going to go to Hershey. He's going to tear it up. You got McMichael, you got Dubois, and you got Tom Wilson. And then do you have Milano or Crystal with LaPierre and Ryan Leonard? Now, it's a little bit riskier with a young guy in LaPierre and a young guy in Leonard. Do you want him to, Leonard get some more minutes with some veteran guys? Maybe you flip-flop him and Beauvillier, and then you could have Duhaime, Dowd, and Beauvillier with Sordiff as your 13th forward. I don't think they're going to put Sordiff on waivers considering what they gave up to get him.
Right.
Because if you put him on waivers and he gets claimed, you gave up, some picks for nothing. And that's bad on Chris Patrick and the organization. That does not look good. Do you try and put Milano through waivers? Do you trade him? My guess is that Miroshnichenko and Crystal go down to Hershey and tear it up for a bit. But then also, what does this team do on defense? Do you keep Iorio or do you keep McElrath? Because Iorio's got to go through waivers, and he's less likely to, make it. Because you can't lose any of these young guys on waivers. LaPierre, Iorio, and then there's Stevenson. You can't lose any of these guys to waivers.
I mean, I don't know any other way around it, though.
Well,
you gotta risk it with somebody.
Well, Carberry came out and said he doesn't care if he has 13 forwards or 14 forwards and, or what would it be, 13 forwards and 8 defensemen or 14 forwards and 7 defensemen. He doesn't care. But this team tends to, historically, so it doesn't mean they're going to, but historically they've carried 13 forwards and 8 defensemen. So my guess is we have some combination of Ovechkin, Strome, Protas, McMichael, Dubois, Wilson, and this, these are just my lines. Milano, LaPierre, and Leonard, Duhaime, Dowd, Beauvillier, and Sordiff as the 13 forwards. Then you have Carlson, Chukrin, Favari, Roy, Sandin, Van Riemsdyk, Chisholm, and Iorio, because I don't think they want to lose Iorio for nothing. And then Thompson and Lindgren. I think they try and trade Stevenson. I think they have Thompson and Lindgren locked up for a couple of years. And if you can get something for him, knowing you've got a couple other goalies in the minors, you can always try and trade for or sign in free agency a goaltender when it comes time for Thompson and Lindgren to move on, that you try and get something for Stevenson. We don't know. He's barely played in the NHL. We don't know what he's going to be, but it sounds like he's not going to make it through waivers.
That's scary to think about. It really is, because look at
Hershey's probably come on, we need somebody. They did send down, the Caps sent down Garen Bjorklund, who also has a bunch of potential, just not a ton of time in Hershey. He did incredibly well in South Carolina. So maybe he becomes the number one guy in Hershey on a young, a lot of changes in Hershey right now, but a young guy coming up, and give him a chance. He's 23. Give him a chance to show what he can do at the AHL. Stevenson's also 26. Again, in the real world, young guy. In sports world, sometimes goalies take a little longer. Defensemen as well. Not the end of the world. But he's only 2 years younger than Logan Thompson. So it's not like he's this 21-year-old guy that's up and coming. That's the future of the team. He might come into the NHL and be incredibly good. But we kind of already have one of those really good goaltenders. In fact, we have 2. So why not move? And I understand there are people, and it's, you're uprooting families, and and maybe he's got a girlfriend around here or in Hershey or something. But that's the reality of wanting to get into professional sports. And the fact is, the organization has these pieces, and they have things that other teams might want. They have value, and you have to get something for that value. You can't have something that's worth a lot and lose it for nothing. It's not an expansion draft. That's, things happen. But you can't lose someone for nothing when you likely could get something. Whether it's a draft pick, whether it's another prospect. Maybe they trade him for a different goalie prospect that doesn't have to go through waivers, and he goes down to Hershey, and, you got a guy who's a little bit younger, and you kind of see what you got there. But the reality is, in the goaltending department, they've got 2 guys. Now, given, knock on wood, they continue to have good seasons, but they're locked up for the next 3 years. Yes, you could trade Lindgren and then call Stevenson up after this season or something like that, and he could be the backup. But again, he's only 2 years younger than Thompson. He's not a young guy. He's not 19, 20, 21, 22. He's 26. He has value. rumor is other teams are interested in him. Drive up a bidding war. I would play him on Thursday. Drive up his value and get someone to give you something for him versus getting nothing. Losing any of these guys, Iorio, Stevenson, LaPierre, or I'm forgetting the other person that I'm trying to think of. Like, losing them for nothing would be a big mistake.
I do agree with you on that point, but also I don't want to lose any of these guys, but especially with Stevenson, it's really important to have a really good third goaltender, somebody that you can call
True.
up.
That is very true.
That's what we had in Hunter Shepard when he was with the organization.
He's on waivers.
He is on waivers, 100% he is. But you need a third guy because I think it was just last year towards the end of the season, didn't Logan Thompson and Chucky Sideburns didn't they both go down? Didn't they both go down and we had to bring up Hunter Shepard to play a game or two because they both were hurt?
Play a little bit?
Because I think both of them got hurt around the same time.
Shepard came back up already.
Oh, did he?
He got called up today.
So what, he cleared waivers and then they brought him right back up?
Yeah, it looks like. Oh, I don't know why they called him up again.
Okay.
Well, he has to go through waivers again, so maybe you trade Stevenson when he gets put on waivers. You're like, mine! But the thing is, I think to then claim him and send him down, you'd have to put him on waivers yourself.
Oh, jeez.
So then you run the risk of Ottawa being like, give him back. And they would be able to then send him immediately down and not have to go through waivers, if I remember the rules correctly. Like, if you're reclaiming one of your own players from, at some point, original season, what? That didn't make sense. Like, earlier in the season, you can just send them straight to waivers if you get the claim on them. Right? Someone could jump in front of you.
Right.
So, I don't know. Like, I feel like we haven't really talked about it, but Iorio and McElrath is another one of, like, which guy do you go with? And for me, Iorio, I don't want to lose Iorio, obviously, to waivers. And I don't really want to lose him in general. So I feel like he's a guy, he's 22. You give him some minutes every couple games. Someone else gets a break. And I know, like, last season, I don't know what it was. Maybe they didn't trust the other dudes. But, like, they did not let, like, the top six in defense played every game. More or less every game. And it was like, give him a break. We want him a little fresher when we get closer to the playoffs. And so maybe on a back-to-back, some of the older guys, Carlson, Van Riemsdyk, not that he's like that old, but like maybe they get the first or second game in a back-to-back off and you plug in Iorio or Chisholm and let them play every once in a while. Because the other thing is, like, when we ran into that injury, they're like, Alexiev, you go out there. And he's like, I don't even know where my freaking skates are right now. Like, I haven't played in forever. I was like, oh, God, I got to go look. They're in my, junk closet. Like, I don't know. I haven't used them in forever. So, like, there needs to be a little bit more of a rotation. But in my mind, it's keeping Iorio and putting McElrath on waivers. I don't think you lose him. Milano, I think maybe you probably lose him if you put him on waivers. But I feel like they're just going to send Crystal and Miro down because they're exempt and it'll be easier. And you roll with like Milano, LaPierre. I think it'll probably be Milano, LaPierre, and was it Wilson playing with them?
Wilson was with McMichael, I think, recently.
Well, that's the other thing is Michael's been playing in the center spot. So if you keep like someone's not playing the center, you can't have 5 centers playing. That's not how it works, guys.
Does
you only get 4 lines.
Does LaPierre have any experience at the wing, or has he just been a center?
I think he has a little bit in his career, but mostly he's a center. And I know he doesn't like it. He's like, I coach middle school soccer, and he's like one of the kids on the team where I'm like, you're really good on defense. He's like, but I don't like it. I'm like, but that's not the point. You're good at it. Play there. But it's like, McMichael is really good on the left wing. Like, I know he wants to, but I get it, man. Like, I feel you. I loved playing second base when I was a kid. And I always ended up at third base because I had a decent arm and I was a good fielder. And they're like, you're going to go over there because the other kid is going to play second base because his arm is not as strong as yours. And I was like, but I want to play second base. I get it, Connor. but you were really good on the left wing. And you were really good with Strome and Wilson. And I like that line. So do it. So in my mind, he goes over there. And then, you put Leonard with LaPierre and Milano, or Leonard with Jaheim Dowd, and let him just go nuts. And I feel like either way, it's a good fit. Like defensively, Milano, LaPierre, and Leonard. If I'm Carberry, I'm like, I'm not putting you guys in any defensive zone faceoffs because I'm worried. Don't ever ice it. But no, I'd be a little concerned. Like I want another vet with Leonard right now, like 2 vets. But maybe that's why he would end up with Duhaime and Dowd. But like these are all good problems, but problems nonetheless because this team they have good prospects, they have good players, they have players that other teams are going to want. And the reality is all these things have value, and you have to get something for them, or you need to play them. So in my mind, I think Miro goes down, I think Crystal goes down, and it's just simply numbers game, and then they're the first call-ups. Whoever's doing better or fits that situation a little bit better, they're coming back up. Like it seems like Crystal has a little bit of swagger to him.
Yeah.
That like he would come out play in the NHL and it wouldn't phase him. Like I don't think he would get the deer in the headlights. Probably would at first, like the first shift or two, but I don't think you'd be able to tell. Like he would go out there and just do his thing, but dude's got a shot. I really like him, and I think he's going to be an NHL player sooner rather than later.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but all these players that you're saying have to go through waivers to go down to Hershey. If they stay on this team and something happens and they need to make room, they still have to go through waivers throughout the regular season, right?
The guys that go down, if I remember correctly, they would have to go through waivers to come back up. But that's the guys that have to go through waivers. So like if Iorio or Stevenson made it through and then you called them up, I believe they could get claimed by another team.
When they head back down.
No, head up. Isn't that a thing, or am I mixing that up with another sport?
I didn't think there were waivers coming up to the big leagues. I thought it was only when you had to go back down, but I could be wrong.
Am I mixing that up with something else? Are there any other sports that have waivers? NHL waivers.
Because I'm wondering, like, we're talking about who's going to get picked and who's not, and who's got to go through waivers and who's not. Like, is this just like a delaying of the inevitable? Because like Iorio, does he play the entire 82 games with the NHL level? I mean, if he's doing what he's supposed to do and looks good and is working out, cool. But like, let's say he goes through a slump like LaPierre did. Does he have to then go through waivers, later on down the road?
No. Well, yes. Sorry, wrong guy. Yeah. If he has to go through waivers now, he has to go through waivers like going forward. So the AIO review, let's not get into that conversation with Google. An NHL team calls out a player from the AHL using waivers by placing them on the waiver wire, which gives other teams 24 hours to claim the player before they clear waivers and return to the AHL. If a player has cleared waivers and returned to the AHL, they typically only need to have played fewer than 10. This also may not be accurate. 10 games or been on the NHL roster for less than 30 cumulative days to be recalled without requiring new waivers. So I think you do have to go through it on the way back up. Players can also be called up as emergency recalls due to injuries or illnesses without needing waivers.
Oh, so if there's not an injury, that's what it is. They have to go through waivers if you're just like, we're bringing this guy up now.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So, so there's risks either way. The thing with Iorio is, like, if he stays on the team, he's a 7th or 8th defenseman, so he's not playing a ton. So I don't know if there's ever going to be a situation where they would put him on waivers.
Right.
Unless they're like, you know what? This isn't really doing any good. We're going to try and sneak you through. But I feel like they probably won't try and pull that move. The other thing is, if like
waivers at like 2 a.m. Put him on waivers at like 2 a.m. Hopefully no one notices.
It's not like you have 20 minutes to claim the dude. You get like 24 hours or something. You get to like noon the next day or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I feel like they kind of know what they want to do. I think there's a reason that a bunch of these guys are playing. I mean, we're looking at tomorrow's game. Iorio's playing. Ryan Chesley's playing. So there's a lot of young guys also that have been playing that have looked pretty good. Like, I like what I've seen from, like, there's another guy, Sheldon Rempel, who they signed in July. I didn't even catch that one until recently. But he's looked pretty good. He's a guy that's likely going to be on waivers sent to Hershey, but he's looked pretty good and is kind of potentially taking that role of that veteran guy playing with Hershey, that they're like, we need a vet to come up, someone who can really fill in. We'll call him up and let him get some minutes. So there's been some good play. There was what's the kid they just drafted, or not just, but it was relatively recently. The guy who sounds like he's from Brooklyn. I can't remember his name. Where'd he go? Gucciardi. They actually interviewed him in the game the other night. I've liked what I've seen from him. He's played a good amount of minutes. He's a bit aggressive offensively, which I like what I've seen from him. So the thing about this team is they got a good amount of young talent, which means you can move out a Stevenson, even in an Iorio, if you're going to get something of value in return, to be able to then continue to have this sort of rotation of guys to fill in around your core, right? Like the core right now is Ovechkin. I would say Ovechkin, Strome, Protas, McMichael, Dubois, Wilson. Leonard's kind of he's pretty much in there, right? In terms of forwards. Then you got the other guys that have kind of filled in around that. At one point it was Jay Beagle. Then he left for Vancouver. They brought in Dowd, right? Duhaime came in. They've had other guys in those positions before. LaPierre's trying to make his way in, and maybe he makes it, maybe he doesn't. We've seen a rotation of guys coming out. That's what sports is all about. You have your core, and then you have your role players.
Right.
And sometimes the young guy becomes part of the core. Sometimes they come up and they're a role player. Eventually Alex Ovechkin is not going to be on this roster, and someone else is going to take his spot in the core group. Whoever that may be, we don't know. It's not going to be Kirill Kaprizov. So he's getting paid a lot of money. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to kind of see what this team does in terms of the roster over the next 12 to 18 months. But for right now, they got some big decisions before, I think it's by Monday, they have to have the roster down to 23. So my guess is Thursday's the big game. Friday morning, you're going to text me or I'm going to text you of like, look who they put on waivers and who they sent down. Or look who they traded. And that might not happen until after the game. If they're kind of working on a deal for Stevenson, maybe they hang on to him for a little bit until Monday morning or over the weekend he gets dealt or put on waivers, and they hope for the best. If they lose him on waivers, it really sucks because he's got value there. He's not a guy where you're like, well, he's not going to make the roster. We'll try and get him through. Like, this is something of value that you lose for nothing, and that would be just very unfortunate for this organization.
Yeah, and something else we should talk about too, with roster cuts and things like that coming up. The Capitals lost their contract with Hulu and YouTube TV. So if you are a Hulu Live TV or a YouTube TV Hulu guy, whatever one you use, you lost the Monumental Sports Network. I did not get to see the game that was on Tuesday night because of that. They stopped the broadcast for Monumental Sports. Monumental Sports has come out and said that they are treating us like we are a national network and we're a regional network, and they want us to pay this and that, and they don't want us to have these certain rights. So the Monumental Sports app has, I think, dropped by like $20 for the annual plan, and they're hoping people will pick that up. But it's really difficult, not just for the Capitals, I'll say that, but as a sports fan in general, with all of the with cable going away and all of these different streaming services, it is becoming more and more difficult to be a fan because you just can't see your favorite team all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's sorry. I think that's the world we're going into now. More streaming, more online based than cable based or network based. I know that I watch a lot of European football, and I'm trying to watch stuff through street apps versus cable.
Right.
And I think we're kind of seeing a lot of, especially now with like it's MLS, so like who cares? But like it's with Apple having the rights to MLS, or the Champions League is on Paramount, or Peacock has Premier League games. Isn't NFL has got like Thursday Night Football's on Amazon Prime, and so in order to watch Thursday night games, you have to have Amazon Prime, and it's just like it's becoming more and more about streaming and having to have all of these different networks versus just being able to turn on your cable box and, go to TNT or USA or NBC or CBS or wherever, and, the game might be. And it's becoming more expensive for all of us. I have cable still because I'm old and stupid. And I think it's cheaper for me to do it because I wanted to use their internet to then use the streaming services. But I log into Monumental that way so I can continue to watch games. But the Monumental app sucks. Whether it's through the Fire, the game. What you missed, by the way, in the game, their most recent game against Columbus, was the signal being crap.
Yeah.
And it kept getting not the bars per se, but it would be it was very wonky, where you get a little bit of red and green every little bit, and it was just, and I'm like, is this what you're gonna ask people to pay for? Is this crap? So, they got to fix that thing. There's no excuse for it to be this garbage all the time. I go into my Fire Stick to log in, and it asked me to log in 3 times in a row. I'm like, you have my information. You had my information last time. Why do you need my information again for you to let me watch the freaking hockey team? They're like, you want to watch the Wizards? I'm like, no. I just want to. Do you want to watch our video game league? I'm like, I like video games, but no. So the whole thing's a bit ridiculous, and it's becoming more and more expensive. And it's kind of what I think, if I was listening and understanding it correctly, it's what people in Europe have been dealing with for a while in terms of European football, and now it's made its way over here to the U.S. because in the end, it's all about the money.
Yeah, let's just say you're a cord cutter and you want to watch the Capitals. You need the Monumental Sports Network app. Then you also need an ESPN app to watch the games that are on ESPN. Then you need HBO Max so you can watch the TNT games. I'm guessing NBC doesn't have anything anymore, right? They don't have any kind of hockey. So you need those 3 right there. If you want to watch, I missed the entire Orioles season unless they were on Fox on a random Sunday afternoon, or the Roku. That was another one. I had to watch it on Fox or the Roku channel or Apple TV. It's so much going on, and the MASN app is also awful. So I don't know. I think it's these regional sports networks are trying to hold their own against these juggernauts, and they don't have the budget to make these really nice apps and get these really nice streams going. So they're not cheapening out, but they're on a budget. So it's something needs to get figured out because it's becoming more and more expensive. The whole reason why people were cord cutting was because they didn't want to pay for cable. And now the prices of all these streaming apps are going so high that it's just as much as cable would have been. So it's just kind of ridiculous. It's just going back and forth. But I don't want to miss my Caps hockey. I don't want to come on the podcast and be like, Dan, tell me what happened, because I couldn't watch any of the games. That's
you can watch the highlights.
Yeah, I can watch the highlights on the YouTubes. But it's just absolutely nuts that we have to go through that, and we got to deal with that. So it really shouldn't be this hard to be a sports fan in 2025, because it is very difficult on the wallet as well as your brain, to figure out how to navigate where the game's going to be streamed at. So
TV's almost the same in terms of shows. I was a huge follower of the Walking Dead universe, and then once the main show ended, things kind of split off, and I haven't really kept up with a lot of it, and I'd like to, but in order to do that, I can only do that through AMC Plus.
Right.
I would have to get a subscription to that, whereas it used to be things were on only either Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or something, and that's all you had to worry about. And now there's a million of them. There's MGM Plus. What the hell is that?
Right.
And you could just go to their channel, and sometimes they had stuff on what's it called, on demand through your cable service, and now everybody's got to have their own little, so it's everything's just getting more and more expensive for just regular schmucks like us.
No, it's AMC Fear Fest because we're in October, so it was a Halloween movie marathon today, so that was kind of fun to watch. I was a little late signing on because I'm like, I got to watch the end of Halloween 1978 because I've only seen this movie a zillion times. I have to figure out how it ends.
Well, sometimes we're old now. It's hard for us to remember things.
All right, well, what else is going on in Caps world?
I mean, they've been doing really well this preseason. They're 4-0. I know that's not a sign of things to come. As a fan of the Washington football team in the Steve Spurrier era, I know that the preseason is not necessarily representative of the regular season, but they've been playing really well. Columbus game was a little shaky, but they were able to pull out a win. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing we're going to be looking at right now is tomorrow's game. I think that's the most important game for a number of these players. And then Saturday's preseason finale is really big to see, is this team ready to go again? We saw last year, or was it 2 years ago? Sorry, 2 years ago, they were not ready to go.
Yeah.
At the start of this, they looked ugly against the Penguins. But we'll see how they do. And then the last little bit of Caps news is that Hershey assistant coach Patrick Weller is actually going to be sticking with the Caps for a little bit. He's there temporarily, filling in for Mitch Love while the NHL continues their investigation into him, that being Mitch Love. And so we'll kind of see what happens there, and so whether if, whatever happens, if Mitch Love is no longer with the organization, does Weller stick around, or does Carberry want to bring in somebody else? Not an ideal time, I would imagine, to try and go out and find a free agent NHL assistant coach. But you know what? Maybe there's someone in the minors that you can pull up. Crazier things have happened. So we will see what happens there. So, everyone stay tuned to their preferred social media Caps beat reporter to see what happens. My preference really is Sammy Silver, Bailey Johnson, and Tarek El-Bashir, but there's a bunch of other great ones out there. Is Matt Wyrick, I think he's just covers the Orioles now, right?
Oh, does he?
Or is he still a Caps guy? I'll have to check. But there's a couple others out there. You can also follow Brandon though, but I can't type on my phone. Yeah, he covers the Orioles for the Baltimore Sun. Ew. Anyways, work for the Baltimore Banner. It's not run by bad people. Anyways, but in terms of NHL news, there's been a couple of things going on. I kind of teased it earlier. But there's that awkward situation with Minnesota and their star winger, Kirill Kaprizov. Well, that got resolved, and that got resolved to a tune of 8 years, $136 million, which makes him, I believe, the highest paid NHL player at a cap hit of $17 million a year.
Wow.
Which is a lot of money that he is
he
getting
that good?
paid. Now he's been very good. What was the? Did I send you the tweet or whatever it was from? Was it Andrew Raycroft?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So he posted on the app formerly known as Twitter. So Kaprizov was the 135th. This is from Spit and Chicklets. 135th pick, signed for $136 million. Raycroft tweeted out, "I was picked 135th overall too," and then he used some somewhat profanity after that. I won't repeat it, but I thought that was pretty funny in terms of response. Yeah, he's pretty good, and he's getting paid. Now, he's also, I believe, 30 or shortly going to turn 30. So, there was, you and I at least discussed, like, oh, it would be a perfect, I'm sure people are talking about it out there as well, perfect guy to kind of take over for Ovechkin. And maybe he would have been. You could have had him for 10 years, but I'd rather they try and find their own guy or somebody a little bit younger, be it through trade or free agency or whatever that situation. Maybe their own guy. But usually, he was picked 135th, so you never know. Maybe that could be Andrew Crystal. Maybe he's suddenly the man and scoring a ton of goals at the NHL level for the Washington Capitals. Toronto signed goalie Anthony Stolarz to a 4-year, $15 million deal. Cap hit comes to 3.75. St. Louis signed defenseman Cam Fowler to a 3-year, $18.3 million cap extension. His cap hit comes to 6.1. And Anaheim signed center Mason McTavish to a 6-year, $42 million extension. Cap hit comes to $7 million. But yeah, that's pretty much the NHL news in terms of big signings recently. Right now, all the teams are trying to get down to that 23-man limit by Monday. I believe it's Monday. And it's going to be interesting to see other players that are put on waivers. I believe former Capital Phoenix Copley was actually put on waivers today.
Wow. I didn't know he was still in the league.
I don't remember who put him. I saw that online. Phoenix Copley spelled his name wrong. Is he with LA? Who's he with? Yeah, he's with LA. I believe they put him on waivers. That is what I read today. So, keep an eye on your favorite places for NHL news. And as things break, Brandon and I will talk about them on those social media places.
Awesome. Well, hey, Coach Dan, is that the show?
I think that's it, buddy.
All right, everybody. Well, if you would like to continue the conversation with Coach Dan or I, you can. You can follow me on X and Blue Sky at Brando Cash. Coach Dan, where can people follow you at?
You can find me on Blue Sky at Coach Dan, where I am talking all kinds of Capitals-related stuff. I'm excited to watch that game on Thursday, see what's going on, if I can actually be able to watch the game with my children not driving me crazy. But yeah, that is finding me on Blue Sky. I'm also on there talking about Arsenal Football Club, 2-0 to start in the Champions League. They also won 2-1 this past weekend with a come-from-behind victory over Newcastle. You can find me on there talking about the Bills, tearing it up. The Washington Commanders, not so much, though it doesn't help to not have your star quarterback playing because he's been injured. I think, Brandon, you know something about that right now.
A little bit.
And yeah, that's finding me on Blue Sky at Coach Dan. But hey, if you've enjoyed the show, go ahead and check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/whatthepuckpod. It's where we'll post when new shows are coming out, as well as all sorts of things related to the Washington Capitals, the Hershey Bears, the South Carolina Stingrays, and the National Hockey League. That is facebook.com/whatthepuckpod. But Brandon, I ruined my segue already, but I'm going to do it again. If, you know all about quarterbacks going down, is it true he's going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks?
That's what they're reporting on the Baltimore Sun. We don't have confirmation from the team.
Take that for what it's worth.
The team is saying that it is week to week, so we shall see. But with 2 games and then a bye week, I don't think we see Lamar until week, in 4 weeks against the Chicago Bears. That would be my guess he'd be back.
So it looks like the savior of Washington football, Jane Daniels, will be back this weekend. He is a full participant in practice as of recently. But anyways, if someone happens to be a fan of a certain purple-clad team based out of Baltimore, is there a podcast they should check out?
That's right. You can check out my Baltimore Ravens podcast called The Call. Me and my buddy Josh talk all things Baltimore Ravens, and we've been trying to do some daily wake-up call episodes. And if you go to our Facebook or the YouTube page where you can watch this video as well, you can see me where I smoked a brisket on game day on Sunday on the Big Green Egg while I was waiting for the Ravens-Chiefs game to start. And the best part of that day was the brisket, because that game was pretty awful to watch. So check out my Ravens podcast called The Call. And like Coach Dan said, we are both on Blue Sky. Now that Big Brother is over, there's going to be no one I know to follow over on Blue Sky. So if we want to talk hockey over there, definitely let's do that, because there's really not much going on Blue Sky. So it was cool for Big Brother, because the whole Big Brother community went over there to Blue Sky and went off of X.
There's still a good amount of people on there. The Arsenal fans, a lot of supporters are over there, mostly chatting
That's not
about
my
the
thing.
football club. We're getting some Caps people over there chatting from time to time. It'll grow.
Yeah, see what happens. Well, be social with our show. Write us an Apple Podcast review. Rate us over on Spotify. Let people know. Say, I'm a Washington Capitals fan. I listen to What the Puck, and you should too. So let's go over the games until we talk again. On Thursday, October 2nd, the Capitals are at home in D.C. Up against the Boston Bruins. You can watch that game at 7 o'clock on the Monumental Sports Network. And then on Saturday, October 4th, the Capitals stay at home. They are up against the Columbus Blue Jackets. That game's at 7 o'clock, and you can watch that one on the Monumental Sports Network. And then Coach Dan and I will be back before October 8th, before the big Wednesday night rivalry night matchup against the Bruins. So we'll be there to get you ready for the regular season. So that is pretty much it for the show this week. Everybody, say it loud, say it proud. Let's go, Caps.